Okay, here we go then. We're going to do now an accurate cubic graph. In an exam, they're likely to give you the equation of the graph they want you to draw accurately. Okay, the name of the graph, if you like. In this case, you can see it's an x cubed, so it's a cubic graph. They will give you the table of values, and it's quite likely that they will work out and give to you the majority of these table of y values already worked out for you. And it's quite often the case they'll just leave one or possibly two missing y values for you to work out. And then what they'll ask you to do is to actually plot the results that you get from that table in your graph and then join them up to get your cubic curve. So you can see here I've just got one missing value. So I'm going to add that into the table once I've done a calculation. So they'll leave you some space on the exam paper to do this calculation. So here we go. So if x equals 2, I don't know the y value to go with it. So x equals 2. This is what you'd need to do to work out that missing y value. You go to the name or the equation and you say that the y value will be equal to. Right, we take the x value and we cube it. So I'll put the 2 inside a bracket and I cube it. It's take away. Then it's 2 lots of the x value squared. So I put the x value, which is a 2, inside a bracket and I need to square it. So you get minus 2 lots of 2 squared. Next you've got take away x. So that's going to be take away just the 2. And then finally you've got plus 2. So I say plus 2 on the end. Okay, so next line. Y is equal to 2 cubed. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. Next, we've got minus 2 lots of 2 squared. So you work out the 2 squared first. 2 squared is 4. And so we've got minus 2 4s, which is 8. And then you've got minus 2, and you've got plus 2. So there's the calculation that needs to be worked out. So we've got y equals 8 take away 8 is nothing. Minus 2 plus 2, well they also give nothing. Minus 2 plus 2 give nothing. So the entire thing there, 8 take 2, add 2, ends up with 0 as your answer. So I'll get a colour and I'll put that 0 in the table. Now that will give you 1 mark from the examiner. And when you look at the table, you might think at first glance that you've made a mistake because you can see we've got now 1, 2, 3 zeros in the table of values, and that might make you think you've made an error. We haven't. Let's just plot them and see what happens, and we'll talk about what we find once we've plotted the points. So the axes will be drawn for you in many occasions. Sometimes you have to draw the axes yourself, but here they've been drawn for you. So I'm now going to plot the points that we have just got in this table. So minus 3, minus 40. Minus 3 on the x, down to minus 40 on the y, we plot a point. Minus 2, minus 12. Minus 2. Minus 12, I'll have to do the best I can to estimate because I'm going down in 5s here. Minus 10, minus 12 is about there. Put the point. Minus 1, 0. You go to minus 1 on the x, and then 0 up or down means you actually cross the axis there. Next, it is 0, 2. So you go to 0 on the x, which is there, and up 2, which is about there for me. Next, it's 1, 0. That means 1 across and 0 up or down. So that is on the axis there. Next, you've got 2, 0. So that means you go to 2 on the x, 0 up or down. So it's actually there. And then finally 3, 8. That means you go 3 across and you have to go up to 8, which is about there. So there is the basic plotting of the points. And you'll get 1 or 2 marks from the examiner if you successfully put them in the right place. So far, 1 mark for that, possibly 2 marks for plotting the points. So you got 3% so far from the examiner. Now, looking at that, you might think, well, have I done this right? Well, yes you have, because if you remember, the basic x cubed curve looks something like that. Now, that would be what x cubed looks like if none of that was present. If it was just y equals x cubed, it would look like that picture there. As soon as you start putting in x squareds and x's into it, it starts becoming a bit more difficult to predict what it's going to look like. But it still will have the basic same shape as an x cubed graph. It may be shifted, it may be rotated a bit, it may be slanted a bit, but it will still be a basic x cubed graph. And you can see this is what's going on. Because if I take my time to draw this, from here, a smooth curve as best you can, up here, passing through that point, swing it round, and it then doubles back on itself to there. And what you can see happening is, now this might not be so obvious because there's no point in that area there. What actually happens is it swings underneath and then doubles back on itself and then goes up off the end of the graph like so. And you can see that that and that are very similar shapes. It's just that it's been moved a bit and twisted a bit, rotated a bit to get that picture. So it does make sense that it's an x cubed graph, and it does make sense that we've got 3 zeros in that results table. And there you go. That is the graph of y equals x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. And that's the end of this very short video on how to plot accurately an x cubed graph.